We've all been there, right? That sudden sneeze attack or a bug bite that just won't stop itching. Allergies, they're so common. But have you ever really stopped to think about what's going on under your skin? Well, today we're going to shrink way, way down to explore the wild science behind it all.
Okay, so let's get right to it with something everyone knows, that bug bite. You know the one. It gets all puffy and itches like crazy. Why does it do that? I mean, what's really making it swell up? It's not just the mosquito's fault. The real story is your body's insane, over-the-top reaction.
All right, to figure this out, we have to go microscopic. Deep inside your body, you've got these little cellular guards, these sentinels, posted everywhere. They're on the lookout for trouble. But here's the thing. Sometimes their alarm system is a little trigger happy. They go into total meltdown over something that's not even a threat. These are the guys causing all the drama. Okay, let me introduce you to the main character in our little story, the mast cell. Now, this is an immune cell, and what makes it so special is what it's carrying. It's packed to the brim with these little bags, we call them granules, and they are full of a chemical called histamine. And these cells are everywhere, just hanging out in your skin, your airways, your gut. Honestly, the best way to picture a mast cell, it's like a tiny biological grenade. Seriously, it's just sitting there, armed, with a pin in, just waiting. And its payload? All that histamine, which is basically a chemical designed to create immediate itch and swell chaos. So if these things are grenades, they can't just be exploding all the time, right? Of course not. They're part of a very, very sensitive alarm system. Something has to come along and pull the pin. So what pulls the pin? Let's take a look. This breaks it down perfectly. Scientists have a fancy name for it, degranulation, which really just means the cell dumps its cargo. So here's how it goes down. Step 1, the allergic trigger shows up. Could be pollen, could be mosquito spit, whatever. Step 2, that trigger latches onto the mast cell and flips the switch. And step 3, boom. The cell just unloads all those histamine granules into the surrounding tissue. It's an incredibly fast and powerful chain reaction. Okay, the histamine has been released. It's out there. So, now what? Well, this is the moment where the tiny microscopic event becomes something you can actually feel. Let's talk about all the havoc that this one little chemical is about to wreak. It's pretty wild, but almost every single allergy symptom you can think of comes from this one chemical. First, it ticks off your nerve endings, that's the itch. Then it makes your blood vessels all leaky, so fluid floods the area, and that's the swelling or edema. That leakiness also means more blood flow, which is why it gets red and warm. Get a big enough reaction, and you see those classic welts we call hives. And in the really scary whole body reactions, it can actually squeeze your airways shut, making it hard to breathe, and make your blood vessels go so wide that your blood pressure just tanks. All of that from one little molecule? Insane. So, how do we get this reaction under control? Well, it helps to know where these little guys are hanging out. But more importantly, what's the big red emergency stop button for when things get really, really bad? Okay, here's a quick, important little detail. The mast cells we've been talking about, they're like guards posted at a gate. They're stationed in your tissues, your skin, your lungs, right on the front lines. But they have these cousins called basophils. Think of them as the roving patrol cars. They do basically the same job, but they're circulating in your bloodstream, ready to race to the scene of the crime anywhere in your body. All right, so what happens when things go from a simple itch to a full-blown, body-wide, life-threatening emergency? You know, anaphylaxis? What's the Hail Mary pass? Well, it all comes down to one thing: epinephrine.
And here's why it's such a game changer. Epinephrine is amazing because it fights the problem on two fronts at the exact same time. First, it basically screams at the mast cells to stop. Don't release any more histamine. It just shuts down the source. And while it's doing that, it's also reversing all the damage that's already been done. It opens your airways back up and tightens your blood vessels to get your blood pressure back up. It is, no exaggeration, a lifesaver.
So if there is one thing, just one thing, you take away from all this, let it be this simple fact. Mast cells spit out histamine during an allergic reaction, and that histamine is what causes the itching, the swelling, and all those other classic symptoms. That's the whole ballgame right there. So the next time you get a hive or a mosquito bite starts to swell up, maybe you'll think about it a little differently. You'll know it's not just an itch. It's a microscopic battle. Tiny grenades going off, chemical alarms blaring, all happening just underneath your skin. Pretty cool, right? Thanks for tuning in.